Hi, you've worked hard, you've made it to retirement, it's time for the good life, and you're ready to move. Not so fast. Moving isn't always a good idea. Hi, I'm Dave Lopez.
And I'm Chase Lopez, and we're investment advisor representatives with ILG Financial. And this is another episode of Retire Your Way with ILG Financial, where we talk all things retirement planning. So before we get started, Dave, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button below. That way you get alerted for any future videos that we do. But today, as you mentioned, we're going to talk about that dream move that you've always been dreaming about as you hit retirement. And some of the things, we're going to talk about three things that you just want to be aware of as you kind of take on that journey.
Yeah, to take into consideration.
Yeah.
Right. Doesn't mean we don't want to do it.
So I'll start, Dave, with number one. I would say the first thing you want to be cognizant of is we call it look before you take that leap, right? And the reason why I say that is, oftentimes folks have dreams of maybe moving to Florida or somewhere sunny, right? Or maybe it's the opposite. You want to live in the mountains or something like that. Living somewhere full time is a lot different than visiting somewhere, right? And we've all been on vacations to places where it was a fantastic vacation, everything we could have dreamed of, but when you live there, it's kind of a different story, right? So you want to make sure you're comfortable with the seasons and all of the different kind of considerations there before you move to a place. So oftentimes we'll talk to clients about potentially moving there for a month or 2 months, right? To kind of get a feel for what it'll kind of look like. So look before you leap.
Well, I'll say this, that's easier than ever now because you can do an Airbnb for a month or two.
Yes.
And you can even do one for 1 month and then try the other side of town for another month.
Yep.
If you like it, we would even say, you know what, before you do that, you might sell the home here, but maybe rent for a year, right? Because now that'll give you a year, if you do like it, to drive around, learn the other parts of town. And what's the good part of town? What's the bad part of town? What's the good neighborhoods and the bad neighborhoods? And then if you don't like it, well, you don't have to sell a home. You've committed to 1 year. Right. If you do like it, you've got a year to look for a home in a place you're now familiar with. I like that one. That's the first one.
Yep.
Mind if I take two?
Go for it. Yeah.
Number two, I'll call this know the costs. A lot of folks really like the one cost everyone seems to know is they'll make a decision to move to another state, for example, for less state taxes. So that's an obvious savings, they would think, or no state taxes. So imagine you move to Florida. That's the one common. There's other states, but has no state income tax. So you think I'm saving 5 or 6% of my income just by moving to Florida. And I would say not so fast, right? Because you have to look at the costs in their totality. For example, Florida does in fact not have a state income tax, but it might surprise you to know that often the property tax on your home in Florida may be exorbitantly higher than what you would have paid in another state. You might have paid $2,000 in property tax in one state, and you move to Florida, and a similarly priced home might have a $6,000 property tax. Right. Not to mention, that state might have a higher sales tax on everything you buy, and you don't really calculate it because you don't file a form. Right. But in the end of the day, everything's costing more. So what I would suggest is factor in the savings on income tax or the extra, but also factor in all the other costs, and not just taxes, but the other costs, because there are some states, for example, may not tax your pension, right? Even though they have a property tax, an income tax, and other states may. So you want to consider all of it.
Well, and you want to think of things like homeowners insurance, right? Some states homeowners insurance is a lot more expensive than others because of natural disasters and things like that, right? So all of those little expenses that you have, even things like gasoline prices, right? That varies based on what part of the country you're in. So all of those little costs you want to kind of take into account. To your point, it's not just, hey, they're not, taxing me on my income, right? There are a lot of different variables to take into account there. Okay, so the last one, number 3, that we'll kind of walk through, and it's kind of the unpleasant thing to kind of think about, right? But you want to think about things logistically. And what I mean by that is, as you get into your later years of retirement, your 70s, your 80s, and your 90s, you're going to need some help with things, right? Whether that be things around the house, whether that be, medical things, right? So how close or what's the proximity to the nearest hospital or to your doctors? Are you going to be able to get to your doctors? Do you have family nearby to help with things around the house or whatever the case may be? And if you need long-term care, right, or assisted living, right, is there somewhere in this new place that you're moving to, is there somewhere where you are able to accomplish that, right? In some parts of the country, it's very prevalent. In some parts of the country, it's not. So you want to make sure you do your research on things like that prior to taking that leap.
Yeah. So to wrap it up, 3 things. One, the look before you leap, right? Which is dip your toe in the water before you actually commit long-term to moving someplace, if it's someplace you haven't lived before. Number 2 is know all the costs. Don't make your decision cost-wise just on the lack of income, state income tax or not. And then number 3 is play out how the rest of your retirement's going to go and take into consideration you may be moving out of this new home and into a care facility, and make sure you're okay with that area so you can stay around your friends and family if that's where you are. See you next time.
See you next time.
Hi, Dave Lopez here. I want to thank you for watching our ILG Financial video series, Retire Your Way with ILG Financial. Just wanted to remind you, in addition to our YouTube video series, we also offer podcasts, 30-minute podcasts on different topics. You can check them out through our YouTube channel. You can also look at them through our website or any of the below listed platforms. Talk to you soon.